I bought these records with the money from my first job ever, delivering newspapers before dawn, back when the news came on paper and the internet was science fiction. 40 years later, they are still with me, but my turntable's gone, my memory is fading, and all that music, it is trapped in boxes in a dusty attic. So I'm building something from junk wood. No plans, no fancy tools, okay, some fancy tools. Other than that, just offcuts, glue, and a bit of rebellion against streaming. If it works, it will be more than furniture. It will be a time machine. I'm Jesper from Denmark, and I'm in my 50s, and somehow I made a living out of woodworking and YouTube. My journey started just 5 years ago, and back then there was this thing called lockdown. I had a pile of pallets, and too much time apparently. So I started building funky furniture and documenting the mess. My only other experience with wood was as a kid, helping my dad chop firewood. Back in the 80s, music lived on vinyl and movies played in cinemas or on tapes with tracking issues. News showed up as inky paper on your doorstep. And my job was delivering those newspapers every morning before school. My fingers got stained black from the ink, but it paid off, literally. With my earnings, I started collecting music, Depeche Mode, a.a.a, and everything else that matched the mood of a kid trying to grow up in a small town. And now, decades later, those same records are back in my hands again. And I promoted myself to woodworker, which is a very official title that you earn by buying clamps. So here is the plan. Build a turntable cabinet from junk wood that could have come from the 1980s and might just survive until the 2080s. And maybe, just maybe, give those old songs and old feelings a place to live again. So I need wood, but not just any wood. No expensive slabs from a fancy lumberyard. This thing is going to be built entirely from offcuts, from junk wood and reclaimed wood, and maybe some reclaimed emotions too. First stop is the wood stash, or as my wife calls it, the reason we can't park in the garage. I start digging. There's plywood with mysterious stains on it, floorboards from a house that I don't remember working on, retired IKEA shelves, and some chunks of beads that I rescued from an 80s bowling alley. Which is perfect, because, like me, it already knows what it means to take a hit. And also down by the sawmill, I found some ash staves left over from building the cabin. I dragged this storm-filled ash out from the woods myself with my daughter. They are beautiful and warped and slightly haunted, which feels very on brand for this build. At some point during this excavation, I realized I've got enough wood to build a turntable console or a moderately sized panic room. And honestly, both could prove useful in the future. Now all I have to do is get all this cut to size, squared up and glued together without making the kind of mistake that ends up on Reddit. Which, by the way, I absolutely will. There's already one tool that's planning to betray me. I won't name names, that's not my style, but it rhymes with Flattening Jig that I definitely said wrong. So while I track down wood that still has a little life left in it, here's the plan. Build something that could have been made in the 80s, but still getting wife approved in 2025 and make it into the living room. Round corners and built-in speakers? We'll see. I like the sketches here, but that doesn't mean that I know how to make them yet. Now it is at least cut to length. The next morning I wake up early. I don't use alarm clocks anymore. I always wake up exactly when I'm supposed to. That is the perk of this job or lifestyle or whatever it is that I'm calling this now. Today I have two goals. First, cut all the wood to the same height, so gluing it together later won't be a complete disaster. Flat surfaces are nice for that. And second, open a box that I have been avoiding for, let's call it a while. Look productive on camera, so YouTube thinks you have a plan. But first, coffee, obviously. Back in the woodshop, I set the table saw to 5.5 centimeters, because that's the width that will magically become the height once it's all glued up, assuming my mat and all the starships in Star Wars align. Then I start feeding everything through the saw like I totally know what I'm doing, which I mostly do. Probably. Meanwhile, I head up to the attic, that weird unrenovated part of the house where insects go to die and memories go to hibernate. It's where we put things we don't know what to do with or don't want to do anything with. And yes, there is stuff up here that I have been actively not dealing with, but now I have to, unfortunately. Back in the workshop, the bowling alley staves turn out to be the more complicated ones, which is something that I now say about most of my ideas. I need to cut off 3 sides first because they have got these tongue and groove joints. And the top is slightly curved because bowling lanes, it turns out, are not designed with furniture making in mind. Rude. I find the box with my old records. I grew up in the 80s and apparently my coping mechanism for pre-dawn newspaper routes was buying emotionally devastating music and soundtracks. Lots of soundtracks. Star Wars, I was obsessed. Indiana Jones, that was A+ escapism. And then there was Blade Runner. A dystopian sci-fi fever dream that hit me like a brick. AI was still just science fiction back then. And yet there I was blowing my entire paperboy fortune on Vangelis and John Williams. Who does that? Honestly. Life was very different back then. My alarm clock went off every single day at 5 AM because child labor builds character apparently. I'd hop on my BMX bike like Elliot in E.T., except instead of smuggling aliens, I was hauling newspapers. My yellow Sony Walkman was my escape route, beaming me out of what looked like someone's faded memory of a city and into synth-heavy teenage dreams. I'm starting the glue up. At this point, people usually ask me if glue alone is strong enough. Honestly, I don't know. But I have trusted worse things, like online shipping estimates for my turntable and speakers for this project. That's called foreshadowing, by the way.
Say sponsored with a straight face? Did we sell an ad?
So while I'm sawing or gluing up a project like this, I'm listening to music and getting ideas for the video that you're watching right now. And I have developed a new habit. Every time I get an idea for a project or a video, I dump it into Monocoat. That's images from the web, drawings I make, photos I take, notes and scripts. And then I turn a messy pile of ideas, files and drawings and notes into one clean visual board that I can actually see and move around. Monocoat is a visual workspace for creatives. Think it like a digital pinboard where you can drag sketches, reference photos and to-do lists into one place. Every little idea, image, note that somehow will shape the video or project that I'm working on. On the left, I've got the inspiration column. Every record sleeve, every retro logo, even that photo of tiny me on my newspaper route, one drag and drop and it lives there. No more scrolling around 12 different folders or worse, trying to remember file names. Where did I put this file? Next to that is the bench design column. I sketch on my phone or my iPad, hit share to Monocoat and boom, the reference is locked in there. I can zoom in, throw little comment bubbles on tricky joints and clap myself on the back later when the angles actually fit. Or hopefully they do. Here is the running shopping list. The second a part lands in the workshop, I tick it off. Super handy because my brain's busy humming the page mode all day long. And this one, video plan, is where the storytelling lives. I rough out the intro, drop timestamps for each build step, even paste in dad jokes voiceover lines that I think of while sanding. Everything stays visible, so nothing gets buried under scrapwood, sawdust or my 1,000 coffee cups. Monocoat syncs across my laptop, my phone and the dusty PC in the workshop, and even if the Wi-Fi cuts out, no drama, the offline app keeps trucking. After brainstorming with my budget, I landed on getting the Argon Audio TT MK2 turntable and the Fendrix A4 active speakers, so I just ordered it and I can't wait to start listening to my old records on this set. I want to make sure it's the right move to make round corners, so I quickly make a board with some round and some square examples and share it with some friends. That is also a great way to share sketches and ideas with new clients.
Jesper.
Right. Round or square? Round or square? Round.
Yeah. Round.
Round. Or chamfer.
A big experience during this project was rediscovering the music from my teens. The lyrics seemed so simple at the time, so straightforward. But listening to them again many years later, some of them suddenly have a different meaning. I try to make a list of the songs I would like to reflect in the video and also a mood board. This should not just be another woodworking video. I want to communicate this whole experience with sound and with images. And Monocoat does a great job of combining it all. I'm figuring out how to make the round corners, and I like the design in Monocoat where the staves just keep going round. So I guess I'll need to cut the wood at an angle. I'm not a Mac guy, but I know a corner is 90 degrees at least, so the angles I'm cutting the staves with must add up to 90, I guess. So if I cut like 6 staves at a 15-degree angle, that should add up to 90, I guess. It looks right here on the drawing. I'm gluing up the round corners, or what I hope will turn out as roundish corners. And now that I actually have ordered the speakers, I'm getting ideas that I'm just brainstorming inside Monocoat. It would be great to not just hide the speakers behind some cloth, but be able to see them as a part of the design, like they were built in. So if you juggle vintage records, woodworking plans and a YouTube timeline, or honestly any creative project, give Monocoat a spin. There is a free forever plan waiting in the description. Huge thanks to Monocoat for sponsoring this build and for keeping my 80s nostalgia and my to-do list in perfect stereo. Day 4. Hide mistakes where only future you will cry at. What mistakes? I have no idea if this is the authorized way to glue up round corners. It probably isn't, since I'm asking this question. I'm doing it anyway, and yes, there is a judgment disaster in my immediate future. My own judgment. of course. So, my own disaster too. Listening to the music I grew up with while I build is dangerous. It drops me back to the 80s and then slingshots me back to now. Where did my 20s and 30s and 40s go? They went so fast. I was busy trying not to be a failure, which is a cute way of saying that I worked non-stop and paid for it with my health and my time with the people who actually matter. Back to the wood. This flattening jig is basically a human-powered CNC. It lets a router skim a big panel perfectly flat. Mine is big, precise and operator error compatible. I set one side lower than the other and the bit chews a trench straight down into the work. Excellent. Can I hide it? Let's face it toward the back where the future me will pretend that he never sees it. So height fixed, board flattened, I shave millimeters until the 5.5 centimeters become and close to 5, and close enough to keep the internet calm. It's late. Coffee has become a personality trait. A little too much, perhaps. My plan was a dry fit with dominoes, then pull it apart and clean up the inside corners the smart way, when the pieces are not put together. My plan does not survive contact with reality. It's very late when I decide to skip the dry fit, spread the glue on 4 straight pieces and the 4 corners, for then to cringe the whole octopus with strap clamps, and go to bed completely unaware of the extra work that I just created for myself.
Angle grinder. Lose a finger? Or don't? Up to you. Up to me? I don't want to do this day.
Morning. Coffee, optimism, last night's quick let's just glue it now and fix problems tomorrow still seems like a grand idea. I drag the thing out to the vineyard because the next step spits out dust and I enjoy breathing. I have two tools in mind for shaping, the angle grinder with a wood eating disc and the belt sander with the rounded nose. But foreshadowing, I didn't know that I would have to invent one too. The grinder is a hero on outside corners and a menace on the inside ones. It bites, it runs, it leaves scars, and it tries to take a finger as a souvenir. I decide to retire it before it retires me. And the belt sander, there's a proud little knob on the front that blocks it from reaching the corner. That's genius. So I round the outsides with a belt sander, then take a round chisel to the inside corners like it's 1820 and I have an ocean of time. But I don't. So I need to invent time as a tool. A piece of old PVC pipe just happens to match the inside radius. I tape a piece of sandpaper to both ends and now I got a perfectly done, perfectly effective inside corner sander. Is it authorized? No. Does it work? Yes. Rain is in the forecast, so I haul the project inside. It's heavy, but this is the way I get my daily exercise.
Oops.
Meanwhile, the inbox is taunting me. The turntable and speakers I ordered slide from arriving soon to arriving later to we don't know. I want to listen to records, not stare at tracking numbers. Teenage me would have solved this by putting on a.a.a. and disappearing into a sketch. That video made it look like you could step through a drawing and into a better room. I still want that doorway, so I'm building one. But also not be gone in a day or two. Back in the shop, I keep sanding, then cut shelves and dividers out of water-damaged birch plywood because character is just that, damage. A glue joint fails, I fix it, we never speak of it again. Later that day, I'm rewatching Blade Runner. Replicants get 4 years, and the worst part is they know it. Imagine being on a countdown and hearing every single second tick. I'm not going to explain the ending here, not yet. But the line between I need more time and I need this to mean something is getting uncomfortably thin. Both for my project, but also in other ways.
Wrong package? Do I get the wrong package?
A package arrives. Not the turntable. Not the speakers. Something else I needed. The sliders. This is a fun game I don't enjoy. I keep thinking about deadlines, real and imagined. The older I get, the faster the hours slide off the table, and you can't catch them. You can only decide how to spend the ones you still have on hand. Finally, boxes hit the driveway that actually look like music. The speakers has these gentle radiused corners I want to echo, not hide. I want them visible, part of the design. So I grabbed the shape of origin. The front plate is too big for the clamping setup, but I'm already the guy who used ratchet straps to the glue up, so I ratchet strap the plate to the station and call it a system. I draw a 140 by 235 rectangle and take a guess at the corner radius. First guess was too tight, and second guess was perfect. This speaker clicks in with the most satisfying fit of the entire build.
Wow.
This is the part where a smarter person slows down. I'm not that person. Deadline brain tells me 8 grid, then 120, and then 180 is probably fine. It's not fine. Remember the 40 grid beast I used to hog off the outer corners? Those scratches are living their best life and having a party just below the surface. I throw Rubio Monocoat light roast on, and the raking light exposes every lazy spiral, every scratch. Hello, consequences. Right there I have a choice. Perfection or mercy. I chose mercy. I'll fix it later. Or I'll live with it, because it's mine and it works, and I'm not building a museum piece for strangers on the internet. And it's a scrapwood project. I don't like things new and shiny. So why build a turntable bench at all? Because I'm tired of everything requiring an account and a software update. A subscription, no more subscriptions. I want to listen to music without a Wi-Fi signal and a notification trying to distract me. I don't want memories sealed in a box in the attic. I want them in the room spinning with fingerprints I can wipe off and a crackling sound of dust on the record, not a file on a server somewhere. All through this build, I kept running into my younger self, the kid who thought time was endless and talked about killing time with his friends, like it was a mosquito. It's not. It's the only thing that we can't make more of. But I'm not gonna give you a motivational speak about that. I hate motivational speeches. Let's just watch a movie or listen to some music.
Coffee. Yes, please. Pretend movie mistakes are metaphors for life. How am I gonna do that? Is that the final checklist? Is there something else?
I'll just show you a short scene in a movie that I already talked about. It's probably one of the great monologues in movie history. In just 42 words, it can break your heart, fill you with hope, or encourage you to make the most of the brief time you have. But I didn't understand the significance of this scene when I was a teenager. I just liked it and watched the movie and listened to the soundtrack over and over. So, Roy Batty and his fellow replicants, as the androids in Blade Runner are called, represent a 1980s vision of AI. They are stronger, faster, and more intelligent than humans. And yet, they are only allowed to live for 4 years. Roy is desperate to escape that fate. He's running from death. He is searching for meaning, for more time, and for a life that leaves a trace. Throughout the film, the replicants are portrayed as violent, manipulative, and dangerous fugitives trying to reach their maker and rewrite their destiny. But in the final scene, this all changes. Roy is beginning to shut down. In this final scene, he chases his pursuer, Deckard, who is now helpless. In a desperate attempt to escape, Deckard jumps between 2 buildings and barely making it. He dangles from a ledge, gripping for life. Roy makes the same jump with effortless grace. Then he just stands there watching Deckard lose his strength, his grip. And just as Deckard slips, Roy does the unthinkable. He reaches out and saves him. This matters. Deckard is the enemy, a Blade Runner. But something has shifted. Instead of vengeance, Roy chooses mercy. Roy is dying. He sits beside Deckard, exposed and fading, and begins to speak, trying to make some meaning of his short life. There's no crowd, no audience, just the man who tried to kill him.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
That phrase, "you people," is deliberate. He knows he isn't human. Yet, anyway, he's trying to give his life unique meaning and value as he's close to his final minute. What follows is a child's cry for recognition. Despite his strength and intelligence, Roy is still in some ways a 4-year-old reaching for attention, for acceptance.
Attack ships on fire off the shore of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate.
Then he realizes he has spent his entire life chasing more life. But now, at the end, there is no one. No family, no children, no friends, no one to carry his memory. All the wonders he's witnessed will be lost, forgotten, vanished with him.
All those moments will be lost in time. Like the tears in rain. Time to die.
If you have seen Blade Runner, you know that Roy Batty throughout the movie descends through all stages of grief. First denial, then desperate hope of more life, then anger against his creator, then sorrow of not being able to change his fate, and now, in the rain, in the aftermath of violence, comes acceptance of his end. He smiles, bows his head, and dies. So what has all of this to do with a woodworking project? Yes, a woodworking video. That's a really good question. I think I may have an answer. In just 42 words, Blade Runner and Roy Batty forces us to reconsider what we think humanity means. He makes us reflect on the fleeting beauty of memory, the meaning of a purposeful life, and the preciousness of moments that will one day vanish, as all lives do. I think the point of all of this is to get you to rethink what you're doing. If you're dreaming of doing something, I want you to start doing it. Did this project turn out exactly as I imagined? No. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. it is a scrapbook project. There were no plans, just my stupidity and a playlist. But it got a box of vinyls out of the attic. It gave a pile of offcuts something better to do than rot in a garage. And when friends or family visit, we got more seating and a guaranteed conversation starter. Usually one that begins with, "Wait, is that a speaker?" I had a great trip down memory lane building it, and I'll probably sand it again, especially those corners. Maybe reapply the finish. Maybe paint the speaker plates black. That is what I love about massive wood. You can mess it up and still start over. But my wife said she loves it as it is. A bit rough, just like me. So go build something. Messy, meaningful, mildly unstable. Whatever works. Because the only time left to build anything is, well, the time you have left. And now, let's activate this nostalgic, vinyl-powered, retro-futurist memory machine and pretend it's not just a bench with speakers in it.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears.